So we're starting this, and what are we talking about first?
Zelda,
Zelda,
gotta
baby.
be Zelda.
I
So
mean,
let's-
that's my jam, obviously. That's why I'm here.
Let Elliot take the floor on this one, then.
well,
Let him
start
take the floor on Ocarina of Time.
Well, no, we got to start in chronological order.
Start.
So
Right, so...
Zelda 1, 1986, right?
Was it cool? It was just called Zelda, wasn't it?
It's
Yeah,
called The Legend of Zelda, and it was
Legend of Zelda.
groundbreaking.
It was groundbreaking, but you know, it doesn't really hold my attention today because it's just that 8-bit console. You just don't
I
get
love
me.
it.
Even
I'm going to
Hexel.
start streaming it and do speedruns and try and
What, the
speedrun it.
original or the remake for the
original.
Switch? Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
No, it'll be the Switch NES emulated version.
Yeah,
but,
Right. Well, tell us. So tell us what was unique about Zelda. Why is the first Zelda so significant? I know it's open world. I know like it was kind of like Breath of the Wild, but in 8-bit.
yeah, it just didn't hold your hand. Like, you just go down. Everyone would be scrolling their own maps, trying to figure it out. There were so many secrets. It was just a vision. Miyamoto had a vision, didn't he? So, obviously, Miyamoto being a Japanese city boy. Well, I think he lived on the outskirts. I can't remember, actually. I wasn't there. But
He used to play out in the woods.
He used to play out in the woods. And he wanted to try and capture the feel of it. And albeit, you look back now, and it's a couple of pixels with a jazzy tune, and it doesn't really give you the exploration of the woods, but it kind of does. You know, there's a subtlety about it, just that exploration. And I tell you what, it is absolutely solid. The game is nails. I don't know if you've gone back and played it lately, but it is insane. Going on from what we said last time.
Yeah,
about games being hard.
I had a little glance at it. You know, I think I don't know why I'm incriminating myself, but I had a friend of a friend chip my Xbox when I was like 11 years old. And it was like emulator on it. So I put the first Zelda on, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. So, a good game, introduces the series to the world. You know, it's important. It's open world. And was there much of a story to it?
It laid the groundwork of it. You got the Triforce, you got Ganondorf, you got Zelda, and you play as Link. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this, you get a sword, and off you pop. Easy peasy. But it set the rules then. From that one game, he's gone, we want different dungeons, a couple of different bosses, lots of items, lots of hidden secrets, stuff to explore, and the Triforce. So that pretty much gives you the basis of a Zelda game.
Right,
really.
so you got your groundwork, right? That's
Exactly.
So that's 1986 in worldwide at this point, and then roll the clock 2 years later, Zelda 2, right? Different because it's 2-dimensional. Because you had the isometric game in the first one.
Is that Link's Awakening?
No, it was called Link's.
It was Zelda 2 something, wasn't it? Yeah.
The Adventure of Link. Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link.
Now, I don't know much about this game, but from what I've seen, there's been a sort of cult following on Zelda 2.
Just bypass it.
Next.
Just move on for that one,
Right.
honestly.
But the only gimmick is that
fuck that one.
2-dimensional. They tried to do something different. They went away from the whole isometric thing, and it just didn't work out. And then you get... Well, there was a weird one that doesn't get noticed much. Zelda CDI? Was that before the Super...
Wand of Gamelon?
Yeah, they even had a cartoon series.
Gamelon, holy shit.
Yeah, have you seen it?
I don't know what console does it play on?
It was on it was like a PC thing, I think.
It's like one of those interactive like movie things, like cartoons.
Yeah, almost. They had one of them really bad cartoons, and it was like really bad voice acting. And I think they made a cartoon after it.
Yeah, I think I've seen that.
Excuse me, princess. That was around that time, wasn't it? Yeah, brutal.
And then 1992, the Magnus Opus, A Link to the Past.
The first of the proper big boy Zelda games.
And straight away, like even if you're not familiar with the games, you look at this game, so much more colors to it. I mean, I don't know what the specs are of the Super NES, but it added X amount of colors. 16-bit console, back to the isometric roots. It's an isometric game, isn't it? That Pokemon and all that.
I think that's what they call it.
Yeah.
No, I think isometric was like your Sonic 3D when they first tried that 3D weird.
Right.
You know that weird. I think it was just like a top-down.
Yeah, like a gyroscope.
Oh, okay. And what was the gimmick of the story in this one? You could go between, literally, based on the title, like you travel through time. So time travel's introduced into this game.
Yeah, you had loads of it. So you had you start getting more of the musical themes that would carry on through the series. So like Death Mountain would have its own, theme going on. I think the Zoras are introduced as fish people. You had the Iron Knuckle was put in. There's a bit of a big boy boss.
Deadly.
good items, good bosses, and a bit of a story. And then you had the Ganon pig fight, which was just glorious. He's a pig, isn't he? He's just a big pig. Pig with a stick.
Well, if I can ever get my hands on one of these little mini SNESes, I mean, I probably should have done this 2 years ago, but if I can get my hands on one, then I'll be sure to play that game because I know it's bundled in with it.
Yeah, for sure. If you buy a Switch, you've got all of the SNES games on it.
Oh, okay,
so
well,
you've got all the NES and all the SNES. You can get them all on there.
Yeah.
So definitely worth picking one up, even just for a couple of these little beauties.
I do like the Switch. I don't want to play the little square controller though. I'll get my little Pro controller.
Mate, I bought one of these.
Oh,
No,
nice. Yeah.
So it's got an 8-bit dough.
There's your screenshot right there. There's your
Is
thumbnail
it legit
right there.
though? Does it actually work decent? Yeah.
Yeah, unreal. So like, obviously, jumping in quickly on Smash, everyone wants GameCube controllers for Smash. So I've bought the wireless GameCube controller. I've got the Wavebird still. I've got the GameCube adapter. I've got 6 GameCube controllers downstairs, all different types, including the Bluetooth one for the Switch. And then I bought this, and it's just incredible. This has still got like your motion and your movement and that, and it's light as hell, and it is by far the best controller you'll ever buy for the console. It's up there with the Pro controller, but that's like 65 quid, and this was, well, it was still 50 quid, but it's.
Yeah, speaking of like the GameCube controller reissue, I bought myself a GameCube secondhand before the first lockdown, and I got a few games for it, and I actually realized that they reissued the controller. Yeah, none of this third-party nonsense.
Yeah,
it's amazing. I'm so glad they brought it back. The cable's longer.
It's the best controller. So I've got, for the reissue for Smash, I've got 2 of them. I've got the GameCube adapter that they were like hard to get. You couldn't get them. So I got that, and then I picked up. Then they've done a wireless one for the Switch with the Bluetooth, which is basically a Pro controller in a GameCube controller shell. So I bought one of them, and then I had my original ones. I painted one gold. I took one apart when I was playing Smash. I took one apart. I took the rumble out, and then to lose the weight a bit because I was a gimp, and then sprayed it gold. Not that I was ever good enough for it, but whatever.
All right, I'm not too familiar on some of the Zelda games that came out on portable. So did one come out for the original Game Boy?
Yeah. So you had, I think Link's Awakening was first, and then
that was a Capcom, wasn't it?
It was the Capcom done it, and then because that was so good, they released the 2 on the Game Boy Color. So you had Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, and then there was originally meant to be a 3rd one, which they never released. So it was like Din, the goddess, whatever. You've got the 3 goddesses in you.
What's the deal with these different color variations of the game? Like you got it with Pokemon, you've got it with Zelda. So Seasons and Oracles. What is it? What are you getting differently depending on what cartridge you have?
So they were genuinely 2 different stories, like with their own dungeons and stuff. And I think there was a couple of shared ones in between. But if you had both games, you could do a weird connect thing with like a password or whatever, and then you would unlock the color dungeon. But yeah, originally that was meant to be the 3rd. But I know with Pokemon they just wanted to sell more units and make things exclusive, and that never changed for it.
Yeah, but they learned their lesson. They still do it to this day. So what gimmick? Well, I say gimmick in a positive way. What was introduced to these Game Boy ports story-wise? What kind of what would you call plot device?
Link's Awakening. The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening didn't have Zelda in it at all. He was on a shipwreck, and then he wakes up on an island, and it's just like a weird mad dream. And then he wakes up. There's a giant whale that lives in an egg on the top of a mountain. I think they were basically smoking what Benny's got, and then they wrote a story for a Zelda game.
Nice.
And then it was one of them. So he has this. It's quite playing the remake of it. You get a lot more story, and you kind of pay more attention, and you get a little bit of feels. So you build up this character. I think her name's Malon. Is it Malon? I think it might be.
Well, that's the one that works at the ranch in Ocarina, but we'll get to that.
It's not that then. It's a different name. I can't even remember her name. Marin. It's Marin, right?
Marin.
So she's got this thing. She sings this song. All this shit. And she's got a little story going on. And then at the end, I think she realizes that none of it's real. So she says to a Link, like, you're going to wake the fish up, and then all of this is going to disappear. And don't forget me, thanks. And then he wakes up, and then he plots off to his next little journey. It was all just a dream.
We all get in trouble for that in English at school.
I will never forget doing this. I thought of some wicked story once. I remember being in year 8 writing this mad story and be like, yeah, and then it was all just in his head, and the teacher was like, no, that's the worst thing you could ever write. So I quite liked it.
Teachers are always like that. See, if you thought of some shit outside the box, no, it was Jesus. Alright.
You'll never have a calculator with you in your pocket. Yeah, alright, we'll see.
Yeah.
Or the ones on your pen. I remember. I can't say his name. I'm getting good at this, but Hugh Janus had a pen
with all the formulas
like calculator. Yeah. Do you remember?
And he pulled it out. So you know the pen, the crystal pen, wouldn't it? So he pulled it out and he wrote all the formulas, right? And then he twisted it back in, and he had this little tab at the top, and it hid it away. So when he was in the exam, he'd just pull it all out and wrap it back in.
And he got busted as well.
Yeah.
It was the mock exam though. That's what saved his ass, I think.
Are we calling them all Hugh Janus now? Is that what it is? Everyone's
Hugh Janus. So just think of a funny name, yeah. We'll know what we mean.
Is this the same Hugh Janus?
No, it's different Hugh Janus.
Oh no, I can't keep up now.
It just takes me back to that French lesson, Betty. Who wrote the comment about the donkey? It's like Sarah 2. Jesus McDougal. Man, kids are dickheads, do we?
Oh shit.
It got to there. He was huge ass was playing up that much that I remember in a maths lesson in like year 10 they had one of the the teaching assistants. Mm-hmm. Remember some of the kids that had learning difficulties, they would have their own personal teaching assistant.
Yeah.
Huge ass played up that much that he had his own teaching assistant for like 4 or 5 months. Oh, I fucking love it. Anyway, where were we?
But Zelda.
Legend of Zelda.
Ocarina of Time.
Are we there yet? Is that a part of the
No, Oracle of Ages.
No, we're on portable games. Spirit Tracks. Remember Spirit Tracks? DS.
Not yet. That's
is that too far? Too far. My bad.
We're still in the 90s, mate. We're still in the 90s.
We've not even got to the time split. Like, there's 3 fucking parallel lines to go through.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
all right. So Oracle of Game Boy Color versions then. So what was the gimmick on this one?
There was 2 of them. You would get a special dungeon if you complete both. You can add them together, and the fact that they were coloured on the portable Game Boy was obviously following on from the success of Link's Awakening. So that itself was the gimmick, I think.
How the fuck someone could have played a Game Boy in the early 90s and thought, oh, this is fun. Like, there's no way you could have seen anything. I mean, the Game Boy Advance was hard enough.
I remember sitting under a lamp. I got the Game Boy Advance for my birthday with WarioWare 4 and Pokemon Pinball, and it was ace. But I had to literally stand underneath a light like this, like just trying to catch the angle just to see it.
One of those mining helmets.
Yeah.
Looking like a whack-a-mole. All right, the big one. Ocarina of Time. Gimmick.
Yeah, man.
3-dimensionals. 3-dimensionals? 3 dimensions. 3D.
We should have drank in this podcast. What
3D! Yeah, man. It's the part of the podcast where you've got to put on them blue and red glasses.
I know, get them out there. There you go.
I remember walking into Cineworld stoned out my nut wearing these. And I already told this story in our previous podcast, but I pissed so hard in the urinal that it overfilled. Because just as it got to the brim, it started to clean itself, and this piss just started bubbling out.
That is outrageous, man. That is quality.
It's not the worst.
It's strong piss.
I'll tell you a story, right? It's a bit of a segue, but I didn't get a chance to tell this to Barry Scott, so I'm going to tell it to you, right? So I accidentally deprived a French village of its water supply. All right, so I'm working in the arsehole of nowhere. Right? I'm working at a holiday park in France, and the manager, my head was all messed up. I was just out of a long relationship, and I just thought going to France would be a good idea, and it wasn't. And anyway, she hates me, and she's like, right, I'm going away for 11 days. All right, you're in charge. And I couldn't remember anything that she told me. So the outdoor pool's all filled up.
She hates me.
I would have hated me too. She just, she's like, my problem.
You add things into the conversation in no context and expect us not to fucking laugh. You're a piece of shit.
My problems weren't really anywhere near her problems, if you know what I mean. She wasn't.
I suppose they weren't.
Sad about your ex-girlfriend. You know what I mean? She never said that, but I could see it in her eyes. Said it in her eyes. So, Anyway, so she goes away for 11 days, man.
Anyway, Zelda.
So, yeah. So I'm in charge for 11 days. And
You can't be growing, man. You can't be growing.
so she anyway, so I go down. Every school has what's called a plant room, which is like, it's got big electricity boxes in the basement and all that. And I go down and I think, like, do I switch this off overnight or do I keep it on? So I flip the coin and I'm like, I'm going to switch it off. Boom, 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 right? All off. The next day I wake up, there's no water in the outdoor pool. Yeah. Right? So I'm like, all right, think, Dan, think. All right. I realised there's a fire hydrant just next to the pool, so I grab this big, like, long fucking.
Oh my
pipe,
god!
right? And I plug it into the hot fire hydrant and get a monkey wrench. Crank it, right, and water just starts going, and I'm like, Eureka! Last day, right? I'm feeling like TJ Detweiler from Recess, just who else but Detweiler, and who else but TJ? Anyway, 2 hours later, the mayor's office pulls up. And he's absolutely raging. They've got no water. And then I just left.
Come back to England.
So that's about how I deprived a French village of its water supply.
Oh man.
Oh,
I'm actually gushing with fucking tears.
That was a bit of a tangent there.
Yeah. Anyway, Zelda.
I need to go get my phone charger. Give me 2 secs.
Oh, right. So, Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time was completely groundbreaking. Everyone that ever played it in our generation, there's nothing like it. It's just an incomparable game to anything and everything. It's top tier, hard, horror. You had everything in it. Like we went on last time. As you got onto the older dungeons, I went back, obviously watching it again, people playing it. I'm dying for the release. One of these podcasts we'll end up doing, they'll fucking release these games on the Switch and we can have a laugh with it, do a playthrough or something. But, like, them adult dungeons, terrifying. The spirit, the spirit one was weird. You had the female villagers, the Gerudo.
Yeah,
and then Shadow Temple, man, that was like, dead things on the floor. You got to fight a boss that's an invisible pair of hands.
Yeah, the 3DS,
the
3DS version kind of nerfed it a little bit. Got rid of all the blood and kind of the theme. Kind of cleaned it up a little bit.
That 3DS remake was unreal. It's just what we needed. It was so much better to play. Yeah. But the original, man, it was just groundbreaking. Had its flaws, obviously.
One of my favorite theme tunes in that game is the Forest Temple music. I can listen to that all day.
It's eerie.
I love it though. It's just got. You can't explain it. It's just very difficult game. If you don't get all the keys, man, you're backtracking big time. And then the fire dungeon, the fire temple. Originally, so here's a little bit of trivia for you, Benny. The original.
Oh, I knew this. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, the original fire temple had in the 1.0 version of Ocarina of Time, it had Arabic theme tune playing,
like chanting, didn't it? It was all
sounds
chanting.
It sounds amazing, right? But obviously the people who are developing the game just got it off a sort of free domain thing, and obviously it goes against Nintendo's policy to have religious stuff in their game, so they had to get rid of it. There's a common misconception that the Islam community kicked off about it, but that's not true. They changed it. It sounds like a different remix version of the Shadow Temple, Shadow Temple.
So they just remixed it so it's not like religious.
Exactly, yeah. But it sounds amazing. Like if you ever get a chance, man, it's got a good riff to it.
Yeah. See, the Forest Temple, that's one of my mixes, and it's like lo-fi in it. Oh man. Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite Zelda song of all time is Twilight Princess, Boss Defeated.
Which one's that? Hum it for us.
It's just very kind of like, harps are playing and all that, and it's just real kind of like, it's kind of what you need after an intense boss battle.
There was a Twilight, when we get on Twilight Princess, we need to talk about the music, because there were some classics in there. But like Ocarina of Time, you can't talk about that game and the music without even, Gerudo Valley. Hands down. Absolute timeless.
And
everyone's there.
They started introducing even more time. Yeah, they even started introducing more time travel sort of elements, because on the last dungeon as an adult, you do have to keep going. Well, even before that, the Shadow Temple, you do have to be young Link and back in the well,
That's
to get the lens of truth. And there's a weird sort of paradox going on because you drain the village, the well with the Song of Storms.
But you learn the Song of Storms from the guy
that learned it from us.
So the man in the Windmill Man teaches you the Song of Storms when you're a kid because he learned it from someone. But you go back as an adult and you teach him it as a kid, and then he teaches you it as an adult from you teaching him it as a kid. But you learn it from him as an adult, so it's one of them, just a constant triangle. So it's like a fulfilling your own destiny before you even start.
It's a weird one, but yeah. And then I've completed Ocarina of Time before, but every time I've gone back to it, I've never really I kind of stopped after the Water Temple. So I'm not very good at remembering the Spirit Temple, but I understand there's a lot of time travel going on in that too, being a child and stuff. So do you have to go to the Temple of Time, keep going back and forth to the Temple of Time to do that?
Yeah, so you kind of got two halves. So you go to the Gerudo Fortress as an adult, and it's all like run down, because Ganondorf's obviously not there anymore. He's taken over. Then you have to go back as a kid. Because the bridge wasn't built. Yeah, you go as a kid and the bridge isn't built, so you need to get the hook shot first. So you go over the hook shot, and then you rescue some girl as a kid, Naburu. You have to rescue her as a kid from the prison or something, and then she gets brainwashed and put in an iron knuckle that you then have to go and beat as adult Link. Oh, it gets mad. Yeah.
But that's a really clever concept, because they're kind of like, it's like the precursor of what came next, which is 2 years later, Majora's Mask. Very heavy on the time travel. And this is a bit I didn't mention in the last podcast. So there's a novel that came out in 1988 by a man named Ken Grimwood, and it's called Replay. A man repeats the same 25 years of his life over and over again. So the book starts off with him 43 years of age in 1988, and his wife's nagging him, and he just dies of a heart attack and wakes up 18 years old in 1963 or something like that at college. And this just keeps going on throughout the whole book, and like he becomes like amazing at like putting on bets, starts his own business, starts donating to like Steve Jobs and all them. So he's making loads of stock money. And then obviously that a couple of years later, Groundhog Day comes out. Harold Ramis directed it with Bill Murray. And I love that kind of storyline. The repeating it comes from Buddhism, doesn't it? Just that repeating the same thing over and over again, like it's purgatory. And you get to Majora's Mask, and it's got that theme, the 3-day cycle.
Yep.
And I love it.
It's so dark. RuPaul can light it up, man. It's terrifying.
And the circumstances of the development is what made it so unique. Like we said last time, they were under time constraints. So you thought, and there's this theory that the moon represents Miyamoto, or something like that, and like it's like they're under these time constraints. They kind of pushed them to.
I think it was Iwata at that time. I think Iwata took over from Satoru Iwata. He took over from one of them. I think he was producing on one, and then he took over the director from. I think it was A Link to the Past. All these, but yeah, no, you're right. You see the moon, Shigeru Miyamoto coming down on him like, "You must get this done." It's awesome. Like, it's so cool. And that was just super dark, man. It was such a good.
But it's such an easy game to get along with. I know it's a bit of a weird start for newcomers with the whole Deku thing, because no one's gonna have a clue what to do. But like,
see the lunar children. No, they wear masks.
Yeah.
See, if you look at the back of them, it's a little Easter egg. See, if you look at the back of them. It looks awfully like the guy who sells the masks.
Yeah, Happy Mask Salesman. So what's your theory on the moon then? Do you reckon? What is that? Do you think Majora's Mask is perpetuating that illusion, or is it just wacky? Like it's not meant to make sense. It's just one of those things.
I think it's him destroying the moon. The moon coming with a weird face.
No, like when you go into the moon, like why is it a forest? Or why is it a tree on a grassy hill? What is that all about?
I think that's just the way they're trying to. Like death, innit? You're on the last instance. The world's going to end. This is the final moments of any kind of. Yeah, I think it is. I think maybe that's the link between him. Link between worlds. It's a link of him coming out of. Because you got different. This is where the timeline splits, isn't it? The end of Ocarina of Time is where the timeline splits. So you got 3 outcomes from that game, and depending what happens, you go down the 3 paths that kind of fall into next. So I'm sure it's in Ocarina of Time. At the very end of the game, Princess Zelda says, go and play the song. We've beat him. Go back and relive your childhood, your lost years. Yeah, so that's the first timeline split, and then that young Link then goes off to Majora's Mask. Right, so he's off. That's, I don't know, one of the canons. Yeah. So then the next one is the hero timeline, where at the end of the game he beats Ganondorf. That's it. He beats Ganondorf, kills him, and then just lives off forever. And then X amount of years later is when Twilight Princess happens. So Ganondorf gets banished, and that.
Remind me that we've got a juicy bit of like possible canon with that one. We won't say it just yet. Yeah, so there are 3 timelines. Link's youth going off to try and find Navi. Again, we've kind of touched on those theories that people suggesting that he died, and this is kind of like his last few moments of being alive. Everything flashes before your eyes, and he's in this sort of parallel universe. But a lot of people said no, that's not the case. It really is just another part of the world. It's a lot more industrial compared to Ocarina of Time's world. Sometimes you can look too much into it, but I think it's good. And again, it's got that Buddhist philosophy. In Groundhog Day, he has to please every single person. He's in purgatory. Apparently, Harold Ramis went on record saying it was something like 35 to 40 years that he repeated the same day. Yeah, and he basically, by the end of that movie, he has fixed everyone's lives. He's had a positive impact on everyone, and he's done it out of selflessness.
Yeah.
And then finally, that's when he gains the love of Rita, I think her name is. And then that's it. He begins the new day. And it's almost very similar to Legend of Zelda. He touched, in a way, because I know a lot of them don't say, you can't fix everyone's life in one cycle. That'd be impossible. But you've had a positive impact on everyone, and then you can finally get out of that time loop, that purgatory.
Yeah, that's it.
Dawn of a new day. There is a glitch, by the way, that you can do. If you can go to the telescope just before it gets to 0 on the clock, you can then dawn of the new day, and you'll be in the game. No timer, no assets. Just.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's easy enough to find. You go on YouTube and type it in, it'll tell you how to do it. But you've got to be on that telescope like within half a second.
Yeah.
And then it will then load up Dawn of a New Day.
That's mad.
Another glitch you can do in Majora's Mask when you're Deku Link, stuck in Deku Link form. If you go to East Clocktown next to the Stockpot Inn, if you turn backwards against the guard and then pull back, you'll eventually push him out the way.
Yeah, you can sneak up.
None of Terminus has rendered, so no enemies are there.
There's another glitch as well. I was watching Games Done Quick, and this guy was he went to the banker, sells the coins and stuff. I don't know what he'd done, I can't remember, but he'd done it and started going through walls, and I turned it off.
I see you're engaged with that one. I see tickled your fancy.
No.
What's so interesting,
like
the Nintendo 64 was very limited in what it could do, but it made up for it in story. You have these characters. The song changes. The Clocktown song changes depending on what day it is. It becomes more and more frantic. And some of the characters, like the guy who teaches you how to use your sword at the beginning of the game, he's very kind of like, oh, I'm not afraid. Who cares? And then by the end of the 3rd night, he's cowering in his own little studio saying he doesn't want to die.
That's it. It's really good. It's like everyone has their own little stories, and like you said, they're all individual. Like the one that always stuck out for me was the alien attack on the farm.
Yeah.
And it was the big sister accepting what's happening and coming to terms with the fact that the daughter's the younger sister's gonna die this horrible death, which is why she almost pushes her out to get abducted. Well, hopefully you can get abducted and get murdered by these aliens, and then you're not gonna suffer the horrible fate that we're all gonna get crushed by the moon, which is a dark one.
That is dark. I mean, because Nintendo doesn't want to promote sort of alcohol or anything like that, you can kind of guess that the Chateau Romani milk that costs 200 rupees, it gives you unlimited. It gives you unlimited magic power for the rest of the game, which is amazing. But I think it's also linked to alcohol.
You did tell by the way the guy's wobbling in a chair.
And I can't remember their names because I always want to call her Marin, but what are they called? What are they called in Majora's Mask? The sisters, even though they're just adult and child. But anyway, the big sister gives her the Chateau Romani milk, basically saying getting her drunk so that they can sort of like become more docile at the fate.
That was it. When the moon comes and crushes them, that she's drunk and she ain't gonna know what's going on, and it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, that's dark. That hits deep.
Yeah,
another one that gets me is the when you go to Ikana Canyon. Ikana Canyon is probably one of my favorite parts of the game. Favorite part of the game. I'm not the big fan of the Zora part. I love being the Zora, but I don't like the temple's all right. But I just don't really like the the level layout and the sort of melodrama, getting all the eggs. So Ikana
Yeah.
Canyon's my favorite. You know,
Yeah, agreed.
You have
Plus,
that bit,
in the Zora place, you know, the boss is called Georg or George. That's just stupid.
George.
Fucking George the fish, man.
I
Get
know.
away.
Yeah, Ikana Canyon's just on a whole nother level when it comes to storytelling, because that really is the pinnacle of the grief that is apparent throughout the whole theme of the story. You know, like Tattle describes it, or Tale says, you know, the dead walk.
Yeah.
Well,
wasn't it? The guy was he was murdered, wasn't he? So you got these like the ninja people. I can't remember exactly what they're called.
Garrows. Yeah, it's definitely the Garrows. In order to get a foot to start off this kind of Ikana Canyon thing, you have to go into the music box house. And when you go in there, you see that the scientist has become half Gibdo, and you have to play the Song of Healing to get Mag. Yeah, that was dark. And the girl, who's only like a young girl, is having to, you know, if you try to attack this guy, the girl will come running in, and she'll be like, "Get out!
Please don't kill my dad." Like, you know, it's not his fault.
Yeah. Whereas if you play the Song of Healing, he will be cured of the curse.
Yeah, but I think he's cured for the curse. But if you talk to him after, he realizes all the guilt. He's got a load of guilt, isn't he? That he remembers everything that he did while he was cursed as a zombie or a mummy.
Yeah, and that's frightening. A young girl having to take on an adult's responsibility, which is
that what Termina is then? All the people that are like all the dead bodies and like the creepy fucking skeletons and shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, is that all like the characters?
Termina is basically the Hyrule of the of the Majora's Mask. It's the main world, and Termina is, I believe it's Portuguese for end. Like terminer is the French word for the to end, the end.
Well, you got terminal, ain't you? You know, so
terminal. Yeah, exactly. And you get this mask, and then like once you make your way through the Gibdo bit, giving them all the items that they want, which can be a bit of a pain in the hole. But once you get that out of the way, you're then in Ikana Castle, and then you have to take on the king and its two servants, and it's just, I love that kind of story. Like, why are they still there? Why did they lose the war? How did they lose the war?
Yeah,
Captain Keita, that's his name.
That's him. That's the one. It's but you know, we spoke about it before, but you know, I think in all of our opinions, Majora Mask is just the absolute cream of the crop. If that had like a HD remake, then for people like us, it's a console seller, innit? You know, you buy a Switch in a heartbeat and replay it.
Yeah, it was seen as a disappointment at the time, because Ocarina of Time had sold 8 million units, whereas Majora's Mask had only sold something like 3 points.
Do you know what it is? It's the start, I think. The start is like, it either picks you off or it dives you right in. Especially when you dive down the hole and turn into an acorn. Do you know what I mean?
But it is. You're right. It's not a friendly, holdy handy game.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's kind of what, I don't know.
Because right at the start of Ocarina of Time, you're on the horse and you're like, yes, man, that's fucking Link.
But it's getting the recognition it deserves now. 21 years later, it's getting the recognition it deserves.
Yeah, that's it.
So that's all.
And it is deserved. 100% deserved.
All right. So we're getting towards the end of the N64's life. And then there's an E3 reveal. I mean, in 2000 there was a reveal, because obviously the whole GameCube engine was up in the air. But I think it was the most powerful of the consoles. Maybe a little bit behind the Xbox, but it was way more powerful than the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
The demo was being showed off, and people were like, "No way, this is going to be amazing." And then it gets revealed, cell-shaped. People are disappointed. Cartoon Link, as they call it, or Toon Link in Super Smash Bros. Yeah,
man.
But then it grew on people. It grew, even I was a bit like, what? But when I played the game, I realized that cell shade and style made it more dynamic. His emotions, the fighting style. You know, I don't think you would have got a Twilight Princess style game in 2003.
No, I remember I got it and I was playing through it, and the one for me, it was the music at the start, with the story. You know, and the story's there about the world's been flooded and blah blah blah, and Ganondorf's been sealed and all this and that, and then it was a bit like, you know, you're doing the start, you're doing like your little quest at the start. You're on this island, outside island, and your sister gets kidnapped, and then the stakes are there, aren't they? So your sister's kidnapped, and then you're on a pirate ship and you're off away, and then you have to fight a giant bird, and it's just like, I don't know. For me, I love the art style, and I'll never forget the eyes. He stood there when you don't move, and he's like looking around, and he's like potting about, and his eyes are just all over the place looking at stuff.
I only found out the other day that his eyes will look in a dungeon. His eyes will point in the direction of where you need to go.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, but that, I don't know. It's just so mad. And then you got your silly instrument with your waggly hands. But then I remember the boats were a bit frustrating sometimes, but it was still really cool that you could just zip about to all these different islands, and there's stuff in every square of the map you can go and see, and
Yeah,
there was
never been
some
done
wicked,
before. Never been done
wicked little
before.
puzzle quests.
A
Like,
map that big.
it's crazy.
It was
We're talking
unreal.
about Wind Waker or Twilight.
Wind Waker.
Wind Waker.
We ain't got to Twilight yet. That comes next. That's 2006.
Alright.
This is 03, baby. 03 was a good year for game. 2003 was a good year for the GameCube because I got it that Christmas 2002, and then obviously Metroid Prime,
Well,
Wind Waker.
up until that, the GameCube was an absolute mess, wasn't it? Because when it launched, it just had no games.
Didn't even have
Yeah.
Sunshine. It
You had
had
Luigi's Mansion. Like, and it wasn't. You had the big Capcom, didn't you? Was it the Capcom 5 or the Capcom 6? They called it. And but out of that, you can't complain because we did get Resident Evil 4, which was one of the best games of all time.
Yeah,
Like,
we're going to talk about Resident Evil. Don't you worry about that.
Amazing.
I played Resident Evil 3, the port on that, and I enjoyed it. Enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, but the GameCube from the start was just a major flop. It wasn't until your big guns come, your Marios, your Zelda, Mario Kart, Metroid Prime were out of this world.
Resi was a GameCube exclusive for like a year, wasn't it?
I think it was longer than that. I think it was like a 3-year exclusive, and that's when they had that Capcom Big 6, and then everything just started getting. Now you can have Resident Evil 4 on like your Samsung fridge.
Xbox
Like,
One.
I think I bought that on the GameCube. I had it on the PS2. I got it on the Wii. The Wii was the best version, and then
Really?
I bought it on the honestly, because you could do the point. Nah, it was so good. And then what else did I have on? Xbox.
It's on everything. It's like Skyrim.
Bought it on the
It's everywhere.
PS4. I'll have it on the PS5.
It's on a Tamagotchi.
Like I say, on your Samsung fridge. Get it on your smart fridge. But yeah, Wind Waker was cool. It was just rad. It was
Very
cool.
immersive.
You could unlock your new game plus, and you can play in the pajamas. That was ace.
Oh.
So
See, I think it's my favourite
Yeah, I remember
art
that.
style as well.
Yeah, and there was some interesting cut content from that. There was meant to be a third dungeon.
Yeah, and they put the fish in, didn't they? And he just gives you the last pearl. And they had quite a few cut things, didn't they?
Yeah, there was meant to be a few more things. I can't remember on the top of my head what they were, but yeah, there was cut content. But time constraints, they had to get those games out, and it was a big game. It was a massive game.
Yeah, it was.
So,
It was cool seeing Ganondorf in a different style, and going back in underwater to see the original Hyrule Castle.
and he was a lot more fleshed out. Ganondorf was a lot more fleshed out as a villain in this one. I think he's the most favourite.
He wasn't just evil bad guy, evil bad man wants to go and do this and that. Like, but he's like, you've got spunk, kid. Fuck off, found me fortress, and come back when you're a bit better. See ya.
I'll tell you a funny story about Wind Waker. So when it comes to speedrunning, there's this one hack that was like the most wanted speedrun hack in the game, which was getting through the barrier in underwater, the underwater part. And eventually someone figured it out, but it was this Portuguese kid, and you just see him doing it. This video is on YouTube, and he goes, I did it. I did it.
Amazing.
And they just shaved off an hour off of the world record.
Mad, isn't it? I think that's still one of the more competitive Zelda speedruns, isn't it?
Yeah, that
so
easily.
cool.
Ocarina of Time's dead. Majora's Mask is kind of, they found a new thing, but it gets ridiculous because like you have to pause at this time, and then one frame, and then they go into the game's mechanics to try and figure out exactly what the code is at that point. It's like, come on,
just play the game, man.
I mean, I used to watch awesome games done quickly, but like, I find it quite cringy to watch now because you got the whole couch and they're all skinny and malnourished and just sat there, and it's like, hi, I'm Dark Eye. Hi, I'm Sub-Zero, and it's like, just use the names your parents gave you, you twat. Hi, if I was there, I'd be like,
hi, I'm Simon, and I play Resident Evil.
Hi, I'm Simon's friend, and I'm the guy that's going to talk on the couch today. That's it. That's what they're like, innit?
He turns around, he looks like a Viking. He's like, I'd really appreciate it if you'd be quiet. Then it's silence for like a minute, and then the lady's still reading the donations out.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna have a couple of minutes now if you want to read donations.
I always love it when they read out a message and it'd be like, $50. If
the crowd's like,
like $50 if you can say blah 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 blah, and then there's just silence, and it's like, okay then, next one. But one of my favorite speedruns is Phantom Menace on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
And it not so much the game itself, just how funny the guys are, because they're not your typical nerds. They're just like they're grown men. And there's one bit where you play as what's Padme's assistant called? The guy.
Oh, the guy ends up with an eye patch at one point.
Yeah,
the color, what's his name? Don't do
begins
this
with a
to me.
P. Begins with a P.
Oh, sorry,
not that much of a-
Captain Panaka.
Panaka.
Ah,
That's it.
Panaka. Yeah,
Right, so
love
the
it.
one bit where they're doing Panaka, and because of the glitch that they do, and you've got a chaperone, Queen Amidala, and she just keeps saying, more hover cannons will be coming. They'll be coming back soon.
Is
And it
that
just
the bit in the
goes on.
palace?
Yeah, no, this is in Coruscant. This is just after you've done Qui-Gon Jinn.
All
And
right.
and she just keeps going and goes, and soon enough she will stop. And then she just goes, more hover cannons will be coming. And he goes, I'm joking. She never stops, right? And then one guy on the couch next to him just fucking bursts out laughing. Like, he just can't stop laughing. He hits the giggles. And then he goes, I wonder what the situation is on the hover cannons. They'll be coming soon. It just goes on for like ages. And then they do the, I just recommend you watch it. Just type in.
I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, it's worth watching, like, because they're not nerds. They're really good. And there's a few gems on there. Another good one is
Roman, Steve, and Andy here to play Phantom
Yeah.
Menace.
the ones that know who, the older ones, the older guys. Another good one is GoldenEye done with 2 controllers. You've got R. White Goose. He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
He's a GoldenEye speedrun veteran, and him and his mate, because there was an incomplete control setting. There was meant to be co-op on GoldenEye. It's 2.2 galore. It's called. So you can use the 2 controllers. One does the aiming, one does the moving, and they do it between themselves, and they do it in 22 minutes or 21 minutes, and it's awesome to watch. It's awesome to watch.
That's
So
cool.
I recommend that GoldenEye speedrun. And
What are the other hands doing?
One's aiming, one's moving.
No, but like they've got to have a spare hand, didn't they?
No, because they've got a controller each.
Oh, so like both hands are on the pad.
Just like that.
I'm so confused.
Right, sorry. So one guy is doing the aiming, the other's doing the moving.
But they're on their own separate controllers.
You can play GoldenEye with 2 controllers. There is a way to do that. So it's kind of like your first version of dual analog. And then one last good AGDQ, whatever it's called, is the guy doing Mario 16 star speedrun with one hand.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, I recommend that. So they're the 3 good ones.
There is one. Have you seen the blind guy that plays Ocarina of Time? And he's saying about so there's a blind guy completes Ocarina of Time in like a speedrun category, like the fastest blind person to complete it, right? Like a blind speedrun, yeah. But he says that the sound design in that game is so good that the guy who's blind and who's never seen it before can literally sit there with headphones on, and by the way he hits the wall and the footsteps make the noise, he can know exactly where he is in this map and knows I need to shimmy this way 3 bounces and he can get in the door and like win the game. Google that one. Blind guy, Ocarina of Time.
Okay, so there we go. There. I forgot one last one. It's someone doing Star Fox 64, but instead of doing a speed run, he's doing a score run, and he has this trick where like he can get double points based on something, and it's just so interesting to watch. He's not the most charismatic guy, but it's just interesting watching him get like 1,600 points on Star Fox. I tried doing it on my own. I got the Nintendo out and tried doing it. I was like, there's no fucking way.
No.
There's no fucking way. Anyway,
Nope.
So 2006, Twilight Princess.
Zelda.
We've got to talk about.
This game was the most hyped I've ever been for any video game in my life, apart from Smash Brothers. And it was because the Wii came out, and I think it came out on the 13th of December 2006. I think that was the release. And I got it for Christmas. Yeah, so I'll never forget, like, just being hyped for this game. Every magazine, every interview, every E3 video, they showed off the Sand Temple. I can't remember what it was called. No, the Arbiter's Grounds. So they showed that off, like clips of it in this magazine coverage and on this like E3 demo, and I was just like sold, man. It was so cool. And then, having it and playing through that story, you've got the slow burn at the start, but it's like doable, and then like total immersion, you're in there, and then you're stuck, and then you're a wolf, and then you're breaking Zelda out from the prison already, and then you're working out missions, and I don't know, it was just so cool. And Midna was just the best sidekick you were ever going to have.
Agreed.
And
Nintendo
her theme was incredible.
Yep.
Her theme was unreal. And I don't know, it was just so good. Dark. It was a dark game. But it was just cool, like the stories in with it, like all the little side stories, people are dying. Like everyone's dead. You got this, the Twilight comes over, takes over, and you've got all the spirit orb people that you can't see. It's just mad. It was just such a cool game. Like, and the temples were like They were different and they were exciting. You know, you had your standard water temple, your forest temple, and your fire temple. But even the fire temple didn't feel that templey, and the boss battle was cool. The water temple was a standard water temple, but we didn't get the bow in the forest temple, which was a nice change. We got the boomerang. It was cool. There was just so much to it. You took a long time playing, like a good couple of hours on your first playthrough before you even get near a temple.
Yeah,
Like,
I love the Zora outfit. I thought that was great, and the Hylia Lake is a beautiful song, and I love the quirky theme tune. And I don't know the name of the temple, but you're up in the sky.
Oh, with the Ukus.
Yeah, and you've got the double claw shoot. I mean, what such great world building, you know?
I know that theme. It's just popped in my head again. The boss to be it.
Yeah.
It's got that dun 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 dun.
Yeah, be careful for
Because-
copyright reasons.
Oh yeah. Dun, 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 dun. But it comes.
I've got to do the Undateables version. Daniel Wakeford.
He's such a legend.
I bought a CD for my mum's boyfriend one Christmas, and we listened
Did
to it on
you?
the way to my sister's house. He goes, "I live in United Kingdom."
I come from real Brighton. What was it? The Brighton song. It's wicked.
Oh, he's a legend.
Yeah,
It's
so
so
that,
hard to- yeah, sorry, carry on.
That song. So like, but it's there's like a motif in it. The do 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 do, which is the best bit from the Midness theme. Because you got the do 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 do. Dun, 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 dun.
What was another good thing as well is how the AI within the game, the NPCs would respond differently depending on Wolf Link or
Yeah.
regular Link, and I think that wasn't really a thing at that point. That was quite revolutionary.
It's like, hi guy. Oh, a wolf.
Mm.
Get away, man.
You know,
The
they built,
animals. You can talk to the animals, can you?
yeah, and they built upon Ocarina of Time and just made it so much more alive. Because if you look at Ocarina of Time now, it's so sparse and empty.
Yeah.
And but you look at Twilight Princess. I know it's its own game, but the world is similar. It's
Yeah.
100 years later. 100 years before. 100 years later. Yeah.
But we
And-
had a real good tie-in, didn't we, with the Ocarina of Time?
Yep. Say it.
With the hero shade.
Yep.
Yeah. Teaching you all the special moves. And that was the original hero of Time. But that was the one. I'm sure it was the one that won everything, got everything done, and then had to go back. Is it the one that went back? It's the one after Majora's Mask, isn't it?
No. So Majora's Mask Link, I think, kind of disappeared because that's how Wind Waker happened. This one was adult Link in the
I
future.
thought Wind Waker was after.
Majora's Mask.
No, I thought it was.
Twilight Princess is a sequel to Ocarina of Time.
No, it's because they've done a book. They released a book called Hyrule Historia, and they finally tackled the timeline. And I only know because I've got the page up right now and I'm looking at it because I'm a gimp. But so you've got your 3 timelines, yeah. So we've done this like obviously non-chronologically.
Based
But-
on release.
Majora's Mask is the hero is successful, yeah. So in Ocarina of Time, if the hero beats Ganondorf, yeah, they go, that's cool. And Zelda says, go back in time. You keep all your memories, go back in time, and go and live your childhood, and then come back when's needed, yeah. So we went off. You've done the Majora's Mask. Yeah, Ganondorf's executed because he's already gone to Zelda. So this is what happens in that timeline, right? So you go and beat Ganondorf, and then you tell Zelda, then you go back in time, yeah. So
He
you
gets
go back
arrested.
in time,
He
and
gets
you
arrested,
tell
doesn't he?
Zelda, Ganondorf gets arrested and he's executed, right? So then you have your Majora's Mask, but it's the same Link with the same memories. So Twilight Princess, the hero Shade says he was a hero long forgotten in time because he went and saved the whole of Hyrule, but none of them knew it. So he went off as like a lone wolf, a little bit grumpy, annoyed. He's the shade of a hero because no one knew what he did. And that's why he's teaching you the songs and the moves, which is a dark one, isn't it? Because that's the
Yeah, he goes back to
reality
being
of it.
a regular Hyrule warrior, doesn't he?
He just goes, that's it. He just becomes like a normal soldier, and no one knows of anything that actually happened, which is crazy.
Got you.
So that's
So-
that timeline.
Got it. It's so confusing. I'm getting some sense of it. I mean, what I do like is the little details. Like if you in Ocarina of Time, if you jump from platform to platform, you'll just jump. But in Majora's Mask, if you start jumping, you'll start doing like aerial flips and front flips. And it's
Yeah.
showing the experience of an adult in a young person's
Exactly.
body.
That's it. So I think even then they had an idea of what they wanted to do with the timeline because they had so many soft reboots, didn't they? But
You get away with it in video games, though.
yeah, and to be fair, looking at the actual timeline now, it makes a lot of sense. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, Twilight Princess, the hero shade teaches you what Ocarina of Time Link knew, but had to go back and being a child because Ganondorf was arrested and executed before anything even happened.
Okay, so we move on to the next install. Well, we got the portable installments again. So four swords. Then we got the gimmick of that being that you could connect your Game Boy Advance to it, and
4 people.
4 people. But that's a lot of peripherals, you know. I mean, what kid can afford that? You'd be lucky to have an extra controller.
Yeah, let alone the but the cable itself was stupidly expensive. Yeah, I remember
Impossible to get as well.
you could get them in Poundland in like the mid 2000s. So when no one had a Game Boy Advance and no one had a GameCube, you could then get the cables in Poundland. So that was the one when you wanted to go play it. Which is
I had a bit of beef with like shops like Home Bargains and Poundland back then because for some reason I don't know why I'll probably cut this story out. But I'm gonna tell it anyway. So I drank a can of Relentless when I was like 13 years old. I was roller skating back then. And then I was in the bath and I just kept farting. I was like, and I was like, and then I started looking at it, it's like it's brown. The farts were brown. And the next thing you know, I'm just sat over the toilet, just squirting out fucking rusty water. And I kind of boycotted Home Bargains after that for a couple of years.
because of a shitty experience you had.
Just because, like, yeah, you should be able to fart in a bath and have no follow through. You know, but Relentless had just done something. It was relentless. You know, it
Are you sure it was the Relentless though?
does exactly what it says on the tin.
Oh man.
It's like
Nah, I feel you. I had to stop drinking energy drinks, man. I went too mad on it. I think I had a minor heart attack. Like,
oh,
I used to
fucking
drink
hell,
so many of them.
Oh yeah, well I know you've got a weak heart anyway, so I don't want to. You know, I don't need.
See on the last podcast, right? I only noticed this when I watched it back. That when you begin the heart surgery story, Dan fucking bursts out laughing.
And I don't mean to. I was just laughing because I was thinking about the sick kids that give you that name. I was like, oh, heart surgery, and it killed me.
Yeah, mate, what are you laughing at my surgery for, man? I don't pick that, man. That's the way I was born, man. Don't surgery shame me.
Kid had died.
All right, my bad. All right, anyway,
Oh,
transitioning to the next scene on the edit. So we got. I'm not telling the Relentless shit story. So that's just for the boys. Anyway, so 2007, we got the sequel to Wind Waker. What's it called again? Not Spirit Tracks.
Fourth, yeah.
Pardon?
Sorry, my phone literally just had a little glitch there. Sorry, we're all good.
Not Spirit Tracks. That was the next one.
Phantom Hourglass.
Phantom
That's the one.
Hourglass. So,
Phantom Hourglass.
talk us through that game then, because obviously it'd be hard for the DS to render an open ocean the way the GameCube did.
Well, it couldn't render an open ocean, but because it's a DS game, it's got 2 screens, which is pretty radical. So Phantom Hourglass, you know, it has its flaws. No one really cares for that dungeon in between in the sand place where you've got to move in amongst all the walkie people. But boss battles across 2 screens was pretty ace. Don't know if you remember any of them, but there was like one of them was like an octopus. You had to pull its arm down and punch yourself in the face, I think. A bit like on Mario Sunshine, but like across the screens it was 6. So you'd be fighting at the bottom and then you go up top. You'd use the stylus to move yourself. You were semi-top down again, and then you'd move your boat. You'd have a boat and you'd have a cannon on it, which was ace. I quite like that one. It wasn't as good as Spirit Tracks, but it was pretty cool.
Spirit Tracks came 3 years later, same game engine, but this time it takes place 100 years later. Because the whole point of the Zelda DS sequels is that you go beyond the oceans to find land. That's what the King of Hyrule says. He says you need to find the lost.
Wind Waker yeah.
And obviously, I'm guessing in Phantom Hourglass you find this place, right? Because Tetra gets kidnapped.
How does that? Yeah, Tetra gets scared. You're right. Yeah.
Tetra's kidnapped, and then at the very end, you find the land. That's it. You come across land.
Start your own kingdom.
And then you become an engineer.
So 100 years later, your great grandson, who is also called Link,
looks pretty fine,
is running the train, and you basically spend the game. The main mechanic is going around on the tracks between places. How do you rate that game then? So this is a lot better than a much better sequel.
Oh yeah, I just recently played it as well. I played maybe 3-4 hours of it, but it was awesome. Yeah,
it was cool. You start off and like your Zelda of this timeline dies instantly and possesses a iron knuckle. So you're walking around with an iron knuckle with you, just cutting about, chopping up. And then you got your train, which is cool because you genuinely like. There's some like I think the bad guy is the spirit train, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's like a tiny little Irish leprechaun guy called Chancellor Cole. Like, but it's cool because like I think they're different. The villains in Phantom Hourglass. I can't remember his name. It wasn't Demise. That was the other one.
Mm.
That's some weird name. Maladus. Maladus was on the Spirit tracks. But they was cool. It was a cool little story. Like demony, whatever, pretty rock and roll. It was very weird. It was kind of reminiscent of like the weird time that Link's Awakening had. But they would just go with these weird ideas. You know, Zelda on a train, cutting around, and then you build up this giant tower or something, and then I think the spirit tracks, are like the tracks that are holding down this giant train demon. And then when the tracks are broken, then the train demon emerges, and then he cuts about on the train tracks. It's just fun, isn't it?
Obscure shit, innit?
Nice.
Yeah, man.
So does it? What are the difference? I mean, it's still on the DS platform, so it still makes use of the sort of the dual screen in order to use a lot. Like you can draw things like a bridge or whatever it is. So what new items are introduced into this second sequel?
Oh, I can't even remember now. It's been so long since I played it.
I know you used the touch screen to control the train and where it goes and stuff like that.
Yeah. So one of the cool things, like you've got you stand like bombs, and your boomerangs were cool because you could throw your boomerang, but you would draw where it was going to. I think you had the sand wand come back. You hadn't had the sand wand in a while. So that come back, which is cool. And then you had like the spirit flute was the silly instrument of that game, which is rad. But yeah, there was like a lot of touchscreeny things. So a lot of the puzzles were all hit all these 4 lights at one time, and you know something magical will happen, etc.
Spirit tracks less so though. Phantom Hourglass took the cake with the touchscreen, didn't it?
Yeah.
Everything
kinda
was
learned, didn't
touchscreen. Yeah. Weird.
And they had like these weird little train gods things, weren't they? They were called like the Locomos. They were like they had like little semi clouds that looked like trains that they all floated around on. They were a bit odd. Yeah, that was a cool one.
All right,
I like
2011.
Spirit Tracks.
I forgot the name now. It was the first official Zelda game for the Wii. I know, like you had Twilight Princess, but that was a mirrored port of the GameCube
Skyward
version.
Sword.
Skyward Sword.
Yeah, it's on its 10th year anniversary. They're re-releasing it for the Switch. I was super hyped for this because I was working in game at the time. I actually got to buy it early, which was ace. So I had it on like the Monday, and it was released officially on the Friday. And I didn't rate it. I was a bit disappointed. Yeah, it was too much of the waggly controls. It didn't really work. You spend too much time. The story was just missing. It's a shame because there was like I don't know. There was like a non-cohesive story. You're like in the sky, and then you come and land on the floor. It was the first in the timeline, so it
introduces
like
Demise, the
before
precursor to
everything.
Ganon.
That's it, and that's where your curse comes from. So that's why you've always got your hero of time, your Princess Zelda, and your Ganondorf, and they're always trying to get the Triforce, and they're just stuck in this loop because of the Demise curse. And it's a shame that Demise boss fight didn't have, in my opinion, something a bit better before it, because you know Girahim was cool. Girahim was a cool villain. When it ends up, he was the sword. Spoilers for a 10-year-old game. But
I ain't playing it, so don't worry.
I'm gonna buy it on the Switch because you know it's a Zelda game to play on the Switch. But
Controls might be better.
whatever they've changed, so you can use the waggly Joy-Cons, or you can actually play it in handheld mode. And I think what they've done is on that stick, where you normally use your right stick as a camera, if you lock onto an enemy, they've got it so if you flick up, your sword will be like an upward strike, or if you flick to the left, whatever way you flick your stick. So they're turning your sword into the stick control, which sounds quite interesting. Because a lot of that game is like got to cut through, like there'll be a plant, yeah. So if your plant's face opens that way, you've got to slice it down. But if it opens that way, you've got to slice it across.
Okay.
So they've changed it. So a lot of the controls are all going to be done on this stick. So that'll be quite interesting to see how that actually works.
Is it getting the HD uplift?
Yeah, it's getting like upscaled and stuff. But I didn't like the art style of that game anyway. It couldn't make its mind up if it wanted to be a serious looking game or then cartoony.
Mm.
It looked a bit watercolor wishy-washy for me, and
Yeah.
there's not too much memorable stuff about it. I know there was like a cool boss fight on a ghost ship or a pirate ship or something, and it looked like Mike Wazowski's girlfriend from Monsters Inc. It was like if that was a giant angry boss, but it just looks so stupid.
And there was a bit of a dry spell after that. I mean, you started getting re-releases on the Wii U. You had Twilight Princess, you had Wind Waker HD.
That's why we need them 2 games re-released on the Switch.
Yeah.
Like, there's no work for them. They're the only like 2 games left that's not been ported to the Switch. And it's the 35th anniversary of Zelda, and it just needs to happen. And I'm sure that once the Mario stuff dies down in like 3 weeks' time, that we'll get something.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's just we need them games where people will play them.
Yeah, you had the 3DS re-releases of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Cool.
What else was released?
I think we skipped over one. I'm not sure where it fits in on the timeline. It was after Skyward Sword, and it was a sequel to A Link to the Past. It was called A Link Between Worlds, and that was one of the best Zelda games I've ever played in the top down. Like taking A Link to the Past, and one of the greatest Zelda games of all time, and making a successor that was worthy, was good enough. It was awesome. I think that was the first time I've like fully got a brand new Zelda and gone like, right, this first playthrough, I'm going to 100% it because I'm having so much fun with it. And it was crazy. And it made use of the 3D. It wasn't obnoxious. The bosses were cool. The temples were cool. There was a cool little story. There was like, you're in an alternate version of Hyrule called Lorule.
Yeah, I remember this. You can go 2D in the walls, can't you?
That was it, and you could run across. And the story was actually pretty good. So that it was.
What console was this?
This was the 3DS.
Cool.
So I think your Lorule counterpart was called Princess Hilda, and they had a little plan where they were stealing the Triforce because their Lorule version of the Triforce was destroyed, which is why it was all dark and demonic and shit. So they stole the one from Hyrule, not Lorule, and then it backfired when that Yuga turned into Yuga Ganondorf thing. Yuga Ganon. It was weird, but it was cool. It was a really good game.
It's
If
cool.
you got a 3DS kicking about, play it.
I will eventually. I promise. I barely make time for my own Xbox, but I'm just not a gamer, dude. I just like to do it for the social side of it. But anyway, so we get Hyrule Warriors coming out next.
Hyrule Warriors.
Or was it Breath of the Wild?
Game. No, Hyrule Warriors was first. Was it? Yeah, Hyrule Warriors was on the Wii U. It was one of the early titles on that. And then they ported it to the 3DS. But the best version is on the Switch and 3DS, which had all the DLC and everything combined. And that game was absolutely insane. I think if you want to 100% it, it's going to take you like 800, 900 hours just to get everything done. It's unreal.
Is it
all
the same
characters in?
Is it the same structure as Command and Conquer?
No, it's what are they called? The Warriors games. Samurai Warriors.
Dynasty Warriors.
Dynasty Warriors. It's basically Dynasty Warriors with the Zelda skin, with this little original story, which is mental, and it is ace. But you go through the different timelines, and you've got all sorts of stuff. It's a non-canon game, and it was a bit of a spin-off. But yeah, I loved it. But it's a hack and slash, running around as characters.
I love those Dynasty Warriors games,
yeah.
man. It's sick.
Imagine that, yeah, but you can play as Marin from Link's Awakening, and your special moves is just a giant windfish coming smacking everyone about.
Oh, sick.
And they put in a female Link in it, called it Linkle.
Linkle.
And she used Linkle. She used crossbows. Because remember there was the game Link's Crossbow Training on the Wii?
Vaguely. Yeah.
Yeah, alright, so her special weapon, one of them looks like 2 Wii remotes. Like, these little guns, it's crazy, but... Yeah, that game's cool. If you've got, go and have a little look on YouTube.
Well, it must have done well
Warriors.
because they've got a second one coming out, but we'll get to that one in a second because now we've got Breath of the Wild.
Absolutely outstanding. Like, I can't get over that game. I still restart it now all the time. When I first played through it, I had so much fun that I didn't even want to beat Ganon the first time. Like, I just played the game. There's so much to do. There's stuff to explore. I've never 100%ed it. You've got 120 shrines. It's crazy, right? So you've got a Zelda in the conventional sense, yeah. But you've got 4 main items as runes. So you've got magnesis, so you can move boxes. You've got bombs. You can stop time on stuff for a bit. And what was the last one? Ice. You've got cryonis, so you can like make ice pillars, or you can freeze certain things. Yeah, and that's it. That's the tools you get. Every weapon in the game can break, so if you use it, the durability runs out.
Even the
It'll
Master
smash.
Sword.
The Master Sword can run out of charge, and once it runs out of charge, you need to either go back to the dock, put it back in the dock, just dock your Master Sword for a bit, put it in the podium, and recharge it. But yeah, it's mad. Like,
How big is this world?
you can walk from one end to the other, and it would take you, like, in real life, probably an hour or so. Take the map from Skyrim, and then yeah, yeet it, then some. But everything on that is movable, so you can skip. Yeah, so take that map, yeah, and times it by about 10.
Yeah.
Every surface on it you can climb. Every tree you can chop down. Every boulder can be moved. The main thing about it was the physics engine. They built this amazing system where you can do anything. So, like, one of my other favorite games of all time is Metal Gear Solid 5. Yeah. So you can play that game.
Controversial.
Well, no controversial opinions there.
Love it, absolutely love it. You can tackle them missions, yeah, in any which way you want. Like, and some of the fun of that is going, right, this time I'm going to go guns blazing. I've got my helicopter with the final countdown blaring. I'm just going to land there on top of the enemies and just gun the fuck out of everyone. Just rocket people, just kill everyone, go in and save the guy. Or I can go in and sneak around and trank everyone and yeet them off in a balloon and kidnap them, basically, and then save my guy. And that, Breath of the Wild, you've got bokoblins at the bottom, and there's like a load of bombs, yeah? And then you're kind of perched up on this hill, and I've got one arrow, but there's a boulder next to me, so I could shoot the arrow, but it's not going to do anything on the red barrel because my arrow's not on fire. So that was a first mistake. So you shoot the barrel, and then nothing happens. Then they realise that, oh, there's someone over there. They run over to you and they hit you once and you die. So that happens a lot in this game. You die a lot, like all the time. You don't find hearts in the grass. Back to this boulder, right? So you push this boulder down the hill, and the boulder gets momentum, crashes into this bomb, explodes the bomb, blows everyone up. That's cool. And it's that kind of thinking. Like, you can do all sorts of stuff. You don't get hearts in the grass. You have to find food items. You collect stuff. You make recipes. You put it in a pot. You have all your healing items in your inventory. Every weapon you can get, you'll love a weapon, yeah? And like, you'll be carrying like 20 different swords on you. And you're like, right, well, I want to save this just in case someone comes, or I want to save this for a particular fight. And that's mad. And then you're like, right, well, let's do this. One of my favorite things to do when starting a new save is get off your starting island, get your 4 runes, and then go straight to Hyrule Castle, and get as close to Ganon as you can. And try and get as many of the good weapons as you can, just to give yourself a bit of a fighting chance. But even though you get all these good weapons, it doesn't really matter because, they're only going to last X amount of hits on an enemy. So, yeah, it's just it's crazy. Like, it's hard to explain.
It's weird how it's structured. Like, because it's so open world, it goes all the way back to that original first Zelda game where it's completely open world, and you can go fight Ganon there and then. Once you've passed a plateau, you can go fight Ganon if you want to. It's not going to happen, but you can do it.
But I remember I've gone and done it, fought Ganon. I got myself enough hearts, because the best one was you go and you finally find the Master Sword where it is, and then you're like, yes, I found it, and you go to pull it up, right? And if you've not got enough hearts, you try and pull it up, and it starts draining your health. And if you ain't got enough hearts, it's like game over, and like, oh shit. And then every time I got another heart, let's go and do it. No, game over. And I was going and going, and I think it was 13 hearts you needed, and then you can finally get it. You're like, yeah, I got the Master Sword. And then it's like, cool, you got the Master Sword, but it's not powerful enough. It's not like max power. Yeah, it's not going to break on you, but if you want to max it up, go and do all the shrines, go and get this special armor, do this mad quest thing, just to charge it, and it's like crazy. It's just unreal. Like, but yeah, like you can go and fight Ganondorf, and if you've not defeated the 4 main dungeons and released the divine beasts they're called, then they basically on the Ganondorf fight. If you do all the dungeons, you fight Ganondorf, and then they all release their giant attack, and it just knocks Ganondorf's health in half. Then I'm like, oh cool, this is going to be a doddle. And then you're fighting Ganondorf, and then your best sword breaks. And you're like, oh fuck, right, here we go. Let's try something else. And you're going for all your bows and all your arrows, and suddenly this mass amount of stuff you took for this fight is just getting yeeted out of there. And the challenge really becomes like apparent. And then you go and try it, like jump off the Great Plateau, and then you're stuck like chucking bombs and trying not to die. Like it is so amazing. Like if anyone that can go and do it from the Great Plateau and go and kill Ganondorf, it's unreal. Have a look at some of the runs on YouTube, but like I just can't do it. It's mad. But the weapon, I know the enemy. There's not so many enemies in the games, but like the ones they've got, you got Lionels again. There's the Hinoxes are there. It's just cool. There's just, but you got to get used to dying on that game, like because you're just gonna die, and it's just trial and error, figuring out different ways to do things because you're gonna die. And I loved it every minute of it.
It's a really immersive game in that you can lose yourself in the characters and the worlds and what they're up to. That it's a very diverse game.
Yeah, it's not got like a set story really. You've kind of got these. You've lost your memories. You're in this pod, and then you kind of as you go in and head into these different places and towns, you kind of the story's unfolding in front of you. But it's not like you got like. So, yeah, I remember the game starts and it's like, right, here's your quest, yeah, like main quest, defeat Ganon. Yeah, and it's like go and defeat Ganon, and he's here. If you want to go fight him, he's right there. Go and get him. And then your next quest is like go and see Impa, and then she's going to give you like a bit of a backstory and send you on a quest to go and find these hidden memories. So you go to these places and you get your memories back, and you get a little cutscene, and you start to understand the characters and stuff. But it doesn't even hold your hand then. It literally gives you like a picture, like if someone took a photo on a camera and it shows you this screen, and you're like, right, well, where is it? And the game don't tell you nothing. There's no like little waypoint on a marker, nothing on a map. Just like you walk around, and I'm like, oh, them peaks look familiar. Oh shit, let's get my camera out. Right, well, I must be semi near it because this is in the background, and that's specific trees on the left. And like you're then looking for these elements. It's absolutely crazy. Like it's just, I don't know. That game is something special. It doesn't even deserve to be on lists with things. It's just an experience that everyone just needs to have. And I think it's
the definitive
truly
version.
But it's not even that. I think this is the penultimate, open world games. Your Fallouts and all of this and all them open world things that they always wanted to be, and your Skyrims. And I think Breath of the Wild's come in. It set its rules. It's got everything there. You get a stamina bar. You can't climb up stuff forever because you've got a set amount of stamina. But you've got items you can cook. So there's always that incentive to go looking for things. Yeah, so you can make items where you can go and find. There's loads of armors in this game, loads of them. Fierce Deity is a special one you can unlock. But
so like leveling up and stuff, like.
No, you don't even level up.
Yeah.
There's like and it's one of them games, a bit like Monster Hunter. Like you need to get good. You can like upgrade some of your armor and stuff, but it doesn't come cheap. You need to find all these items and all these rare bits. It's got like an actual upgrade system, which is cool. But,
so if you're beating Ganon from the start, you're a fucking badass.
Yeah, with no armor on, and you're beating him with a stick, and you're just chucking bombs at him, then you are like top tier, man. You're unreal. But the first thing you'll find is a stick, and you're like, right, so you leave the shrine, and you're like, right, well, I've got a wooden stick, and I've got an axe, and a broken sword, right? And then an enemy comes at you, and you're like, right, I'm going to kill you. And then you hit him twice with your stick, and it breaks. And then you stab him once with your sword, and it breaks. You're like, right, I've got an axe, and this guy's got half his health. So you hit an axe with him, like 3 or 4 times, and then that breaks, and this guy's just looking at you like, well, I'm not dead yet. Oh, fucking brilliant. Like, but it's so good. Everyone should experience it. Like, if you just need to. If you ever end up with a Switch, it's hands down the game you need to buy. If you're a fan of open world games, this is.
I'll see how Breath of the Wild 2 turns out, because if they're taking a Majora's Mask direction, I'm all for it.
But it looks like it's heading down that route. This is an actual direct sequel, so that's pretty awesome.
And Nintendo must know, especially in Japan, they must know how much love there is for Majora's Mask and that whole time travel element. I mean, even if it doesn't have the exact same game, but just something like it, you know, a parallel universe where you can interact with all the NPCs and
Well,
be on
we've
a time
got
schedule.
they released a trailer for it at E3 last year for Breath of the Wild 2. You know, immediately, like, it's like continuing on, so you and Zelda are continuing on your story, and you're underground, you're looking at this stuff, and you're researching stuff or whatever, and there's like a skeleton Ganondorf just there. So he's like on this throne, and his head knocks back, and his eyes glow, and then like this red stuff comes out, and you're like, oh fucking ace! We've not even seen Ganondorf in this, because this is at like the end of the timeline. So it doesn't tell you directly where this fits in the story, but you've got the Zoras in there. Yeah, you've got the Rito, which were obviously evolved from Zoras in a different place. There's all these items. So there's like a Koholint Island, which is obviously that's like a reference to what's the one on the Game Boy Advance?
Game.
The one with the hat. The one with the hat.
Minish Cap.
Minish Cap. That's it.
So there's like all these little references, and then there's the shards of the Mirror of Twilight on one of the beaches. You can find where the portal was originally, like, and then Lon Lon Ranch is in there exactly, like frame for frame. I think someone done a comparison, walked it in Ocarina of Time, and it Breath of the Wild, and like, even though it's an old abandoned, like ruined Hyrule, you can see exactly the track. You can see the same planks. You can see the bits of wood, and it's like they've just really pulled everything together, and this is like way in the future. And I think one of the DLCs, you can unlock a motorbike, so you razz around on a motorbike because your horses ain't quick enough. It's just ace.
Yeah, no, I'm psyched for this game. I can't wait to see what this game is going to be. A bit of a segue, but have you seen someone recreate Ocarina of Time on an Unreal 4 engine?
Yeah, he's just done the whole of the open world start, isn't he? The Hyrule Field, and I remember watching him as he's building Kakariko Village, and he's got the start done now, isn't he? It looks ace.
Yeah,
Looks so good.
But Nintendo are just such absolute arseholes when it comes to like fan service. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Sega, someone did their own version of Sonic, and Sega hired them.
And they made Sonic Mania, and it was one of the best things ever.
Yeah,
You know,
like
but Nintendo, you know, they're not for the fans. The Nintendo fans were a funny old place.
We're gonna get to the bottom of this with Jack, because he's gonna, and you know, it's a Japanese culture thing, you know, honor system. So we're gonna get to the bottom of that. So we'll come back to you on that one.
We'll tell him from me to get down to that HQ. Yeah, tell him, sort it out.
Yeah. All right, so we got one game left now. The Switch remake of A Link Between Worlds.
Yeah, Link Between Worlds. Yeah.
And awesome. You said awesome game.
I like the art style. A lot of people hated it. I thought it was cool. I like the little cartoon plasticky.
Yeah, I love that art style. Yeah. Amiibo-y.
A lot of people hated it. Yeah, that's it. It just looks like something you find in a toy box. I love them. I'm not allowed them anymore, though. I'm not allowed them anymore.
What is the crack with Amiibos then? What is the crack with them?
They're just like little figures.
They're just cool, man. Like, yeah, but Michael Myers right there.
That's not an Amiibo, Sean.
I know that's a pop, but like, I'm just. The point is, basically, you get stuff you like, and you get a toy of it. You know.
So, like, for me, the Amiibos, yeah. So all the Smash characters have an Amiibo, and on Smash Brothers, you can put an Amiibo on. You can train it to be like an amazing fighter. So like, I've never had a Banjo-Kazooie toy in my life. So when the Banjo-Kazooie Amiibo come out, an officially licensed Nintendo Banjo-Kazooie product in 2020, that's outrageous. So I had to buy one, and that sort of thing is cool. But like, I'd like to keep them in a box, and they live in the garage, and they don't come out. So
they'll be worth a fortune. So just keep holding them. You're very good at collecting these things. You know, you've got your Twilight Princess GameCube version unopened, but it's going for about £500 minimum.
In an undisclosed location.
Oh, by the way, someone wants to know about the guitars. There was a comment on the last YouTube video. We want to know about the guitars.
Well, this one in particular.
Yeah.
I think she meant all, but just pick one. Yeah. Tell the story.
So when I was in exam leave, I taught myself the bass guitar because my brother had one. So that lives on that wall. And then I started playing the guitar once I taught myself bass. So I left school, didn't I? I went working for a large boat manufacturing company that went bust. And then my first wage, I bought myself a shitty guitar. And then I've had all sorts from then. But this is Baja telly. So it's a Fender. It's very nice. This one was actually a gift from a real good friend of mine, and I'm absolutely in love with it. I've done a load of work for her, and she collects guitars. She doesn't like a Telecaster, and I love a Telecaster, so she let me have it. I've got a couple more in the garage. I've got a Strat I sanded it down and painted it like this nice grey colour. And then that went in the kitchen, and the little man took a load of paints, yeah, and he fucking covered it in like, he just basically poured this blue paint on top of it, and then this gold paint on top of it, and I was like, oh mate, like, why would you do that? And he's like 2 years old. I literally left him for 20 seconds while I went for a wee, and I was like, well, I can't
Is it
be
the
mad, can I?
angriest wee you've ever done?
I come back and I was like, oh, I'm so angry.
Like a
It's so
Karcher jet
cool.
wash.
So, so that lives in the garage. I've got an Epiphone acoustic over there. I'm not really an acoustic player. I'm not very fond of them. And then I've got a couple more. I've got an SG that I don't really like. I'm a Telecaster guy. I did buy a really silly USA custom deluxe telly about 7-8 years ago. And it was like, you know when you have like a really obscene, expensive purchase? Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was one of them. And I loved it, but the value went quick as I started playing the shit out of it. But you know, we sold the house and that went then, and then it's all pedals really. I spent a fortune on pedals, amps. You know, it's an expensive hobby, but this is my favourite at the minute. This is my Baja telly. I put a sticker on. It's me, it's me
Boy.
Twitch,
Shout
the
out.
Beelzeboy, Twitch TV, Beelzeboy. So I got some stickers. I don't even know where they come. I think my missus's cousin has like a big printing factory, so we printed a load, and then Rue just went around sticking them on everything. So he's got a giant one on his door. But this is me main jammer now.
I swear I've
So
seen that
that'll
on
be fun.
Morrison's bus stop, that sticker.
Did you really?
I've seen something similar, yeah.
That's hilarious. I've got a really big one, like this big, like maybe like 2 foot wide, 3 foot tall, that is going to go on one of my friend's bonnets. He doesn't know it yet. I'm going to wait till he's asleep and stick it to his car. Yeah.
Put it on his roof, more discreet, you won't notice it.
Yeah.
But then again, only
Yeah, this
helicopters
is
will
my,
notice it.
It's like the police are chasing down this car. We're looking for a car, and it's got a giant dinosaur on
It's
top
got
of it.
Beelzebub on the top.
Beelzeboy. So yeah, so that's my guitar. I'm gonna start doing some guitar streams. I'm just sorting out a new little mixer. Got a couple of bands I'm working in at the minute. Lots of covers. I used to play in an '80s cover band, which was ace. A lot of cheese and some singing. So you know, maniac.
Prefer
in
that to drumming now, yeah.
Drums is easy, so I've done a lot of fill-ins on drums. Not like a dentist, but filling in gigs. So people will it's a dad joke. It happens. I normally get a phone call last minute and say, "Can you play this gig?" And I'll say, "Yeah, send me the songs." So I'll wing it on the night. Drums are good for me; they're easy. I'm not the best drummer, but you know, I'm not bad, top tier. But yeah, I kind of like the guitar because it's hard and there's so much I
Yeah.
need to learn and get better at. But yeah, man, all music's cool. The piano, I wish I had a Mac still. Mine broke. MacBook Pro was a piece of shit. You get like 6 years out of it, and then they put an update in that purposefully destroys it. But yeah, man.
I remember I bought my first electric guitar up in Rockingham. There used to be a music shop there. Might still be there now, but this was a long time ago.
I don't
And
know.
it came with a DVD, like a tutorial. Like, you know, it's just some long head dude. It's like, all right, guys, you got the A chord, and then, you know what I mean? And I worked my way through it, right? And there was this one girl I absolutely fancied in school for years. I fancied this girl. And so I lied to her that I could play the guitar just so I could go around the house and teach her. So basically, I'm watching the DVD again. I'm just writing down chords. I'm like, there's your A chord, and there should be, you know what I mean? And then like I come around the house and I'm just awkwardly like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm just like, so this is your A chord and this is your D chord, you know that.
Man, that was so funny.
Do you know what's funny? This ties into the fucking drum story, right? 'Cause Elliot, you taught me a basics of drums, just like that boom, tss, boom. All right, and I used to try and teach everyone I knew. I was like, yeah, I know the fucking drums.
I know the drums.
So
I know the drums.
I tried to get her into the drum room, And she must have just been looking at me like, who is this fucking imposter? Right? No, but I told Miss Noakes I could play the drums as well, so she signed me up for the music lesson in form the next day. And I was sitting in front of the whole class just doing like, I totally choked. I was just like, tss, boom, tss. And then, because Jake was sitting there as well, he was like, I'll do it. Yes, please, boss.
You basically Jim from American Pie 2.
Yeah.
I have huge balls.
We used to love it, man. That music room at lunchtime was just out of this world. Like a lot of years, none of us really got a chance to experience it. But like, do you know what? Our year was dead bad. So I didn't play any instruments up until I met Sam Black, really. And then obviously I knew Jake from Newton and stuff. And then as we were in like year 7 or 8, I kind of went in the music room, and Jake was obviously the prodigy that he is, and he's just incredible, yeah. And it is so funny looking back. Like the year above us had their little group of musicians, right? And they wouldn't even get a look in it because the 2 years above us were a good group of musicians, yeah. And then the year above us were all right, and then there was me, Jake, Sam, and Tom that were kind of like, you know, the 4 musos. So Tom was on the bass. Sam and Jake used to write these immense songs, and then they needed a drummer. So I learned a couple of beats, taught myself, and then they would finally be like, oh, you know what, you're actually not that bad. Like, we can work with this. So they pushed me to get better. So I ended up being the drummer, and it was great because no one else in the year would like bother with instruments. Like no one else would even like, I don't know. We just kind of asserted ourselves as the musicians, and then that was that. And then no one else really got a look at. So, but the amount of like jollies out and school trips, and like we'd done these award things, and it was ace. But like the poor year above us, they'd be like, right, well, there's this music awards festival, and we have to submit, so we're gonna do these songs, yeah. And then everyone would be like, all right, cool. And they're like, right, so Elliot, Jake, Sam, and Tom, we need you to go and write these songs. And then this other guy's like, yeah, well, we can play that Trivium song. And they're like, no, like we'll let these kids write some songs instead. And we're like, yeah, this song's called Sam's song too. And it was just like this absolute belter that I can't even play now. Like I can't even play guitar now after playing for like 13 years. Not even half as good as what Sam and Jake were when we were like 12 years old.
Really?
Which is mad. Yeah, unreal. They playing now makes me realise how good they actually were. Like, and that's why Jake is where he is, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's quality. He's such a cool guy.
There was this. I remember when I was in year 7 and we were playing the piano. We had that Barbie doll for a teacher, like the first ever Barbie doll, first issue Barbie doll.
Another one. The
And,
name sounds like one of them things where like the fish have them in her neck. Yeah.
Yeah, this woman was just an arsehole. Oh, we'll get to her in a minute, but like the first sin she committed. So I'm like playing the piano, playing this generic tune that we're all being kind of told to play. It's year 7, and then I added an extra note. And it just kind of had a better kind of consistency to it. And I was like, oh, check this out. And she goes, you'd never change original music. Like, she shot me down. I'm 11 years old. I'm like, oh, you've never fucking heard of a remix, you cunt. You know what I mean?
I love it, man.
She was the kind of woman you'd be walking through the foyer or wherever. You'd be walking someplace and you'd be like, right, stop, ties up, top button up, and like we didn't have it in us. Yeah, we just didn't have it in us back then.
Shirts in, pants down.
Yeah, if I could go back in time, I'd be like, no,
fuck off.
You. Mufti day. They don't call it. They don't even. They've never heard of that word down here.
Are they not?
I thought it was universal.
Non-uniform day.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Mufti, mate.
day.
I think it's just a Corby thing, mufti.
You had to pay 50p, and he was all.
What's a mufti?
Yeah, I mean, there's always that one kid that couldn't afford the 50p. You always have that one kid show up. You always have the kids that show up in their like flame shirt or their hoodie
with a chain on their shorts, man.
Like, you knew who was who back then. I remember I started wearing like sweatbands and having like Che Guevara and Anarchy like badges on them. Some of the chavvy kids come up to me like, "Are you a greb now?"
That was it.
Now. I remember like in music,
laugh, man.
In music, we're all asked to say like our favorite band, and that because I started using LimeWire and all that. I think I'm dead cool because I'm starting to find my music. And they're like, "So, what's your favorite music artist?" And I went, "Rob Zombie," and everyone just went, "Ah."
Grunger, you're a grunger, mate.
But I was just happy to be associated. I was just happy to be associated with some sort of culture.
I know. Yeah, like, not just fucking loser.
Yeah, everyone laughed at me because I said Rob Zombie. It's like, fuck you.
Mate, but like, just think of how cruel school was, yeah? Remember the guy, absolute legend, yeah? But he got a nickname on day one because he likes drinking coffee.
Oh yeah, no, his original nickname was Popeye.
Why? Has that
Because
got a story?
His Jap side popped out in PE.
You're joking.
Yeah,
Mate,
and
how short were his shorts or how big was his knob?
I don't know. That's just what I heard. But the reason why they called him Coffee because they're talking in history and he went Coffee.
That was it. That's it. What a hero.
Fucking Popeye. That's actually pretty clever for how young we were, you know.
There's only one person that's not getting in our studio, and his name. That's getting cut out as well.
Who's that? I said that. Oh man, I feel like I've missed on something hilarious here.
Do you know what? I'm just gonna
That is
I'm gonna bleep that bit out. And just gonna know why the fuck is he laughing to the point of like dying?
Oh man.
To our Patreon.
Who is it, Benny? Go on, tell me. Just beep it out. No.
That's going in the trailer. That's going in the trailer.
You fucking knobhead. Yeah, so Zelda.
Yeah, Twilight Princess. It was great.
Breath of the Wild was great, you know. Legend
yeah,
of Zelda was
great.
great. I mean, what more do you want to know? Like,
Pork chops, get your health bars up, you know. We catfished one guy at school, right? But the joke turned on him because he was hung like a fucking
He was
giraffe.
hung like a fucking horse.
He was hung like a horse. And then eventually I was like, that was us, by the way. And he goes, it's okay. Like, yeah, he was in a school uniform, right? So here's what I'll tell you the story, right? So we had there was this fake girl account that we got catfished by, right? But then we managed to get the password. We took over the reins, and so we added him right on MSN, right? And he's on webcam, right? And back in the day, there was no sound on webcam. And he's got shades on like this, but he's in like his school uniform, his Logic school uniform, his tie's a bit crumpled and all that. And out of nowhere, he just starts fucking, you just see this huge schlong just taking up the camera. And he's just fucking, sweating out. Right? And I just walk out my room, like, I can't face it. I just walk out my room, I make a cup of tea, and I come back, and it's just him, like, with his little fucking frosted tips, slightly sweaty. He's like, I gotta go get my dinner. BRB. Right?
Was he in our year?
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Just fling his name about.
Frosted tip.
And then I come back with my cup of tea, like, I hope he stopped wanking. And he's there, like, on his webcam, like, all happy with himself, like, right? And his tie a little bit more crumpled and shit, And I'm just like, I can't make fun of this guy, man. He's like,
Nah,
he's
fair dues, man.
He's hung like a 40-year-old.
What are you gonna do? Come into school? Haha, this guy's a massive cock.
Yeah, like this guy's hung like a 40-year-old Cuban. You know what I mean? And then eventually, a few months later, I told him, he's like, it's okay. I had a good time.
I had a good time. Don't worry about it.
I've got one about.
I chopped my thumb in half. I got it in Nuts magazine.
Let's see your thumb. Did you get it stitched back on?
Yeah, so I chopped it in half. Look. So like, can you see me scar?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, look at it. It's like fuck. It's
Was that a Pizza Hut?
No, that was in the boat place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, man.
That's awful, man. Were you in shock? Did you just kind of like, not feel it?
It felt like a hot tap. It was weird. I went through the artery. Like I could have died. It was pretty random. To be fair.
Damn.
I've got a picture. I'll send to you.
I swear.
It's just hanging out. It looks like the shark from Toy Story. I'm Sheriff Woody. Howdy, howdy, howdy. That's what it looks like. Pure does.
I got a snake in my boot.
Smokey.
Mess with my money? No. Play with my money is like playing with my emotions, Smuggy.
He said Smokey before he says.
Anyway,
we're
gonna have to wrap this up now.
Still need to talk about Resident Evil, man. I keep forgetting to bring it up.
Yeah. We'll do Resident Evil special next time.
Do Resident Evil next time.
Hell yeah. That's my ball game.
This will be up. This will be up next
Friday.
Next Friday, yeah.
After Barry Scott, you got big shoes to follow.
Yeah, it's just gonna be funny though. Like Friday and Monday's episode, we're gonna be like in the same clothes.
Yeah, Elliot and Jack. Shit, man, I keep forgetting about Jack.
Yeah, but that's what people do. People do it, don't they? You do your bulk recording, and then you crack on.
Plus, Dan's back at work soon as well, so.
Do you want an out of context joke before I go?
Oh,
Go on, man.
Alright. Let me just. I'll write them all down in my little thing because I'm really, really bad. I've got to find a good one. Hang on. No, I ain't got one. I do. I do have a really good out of context joke. Like this is like one of the best things you can ever do. You ever heard of a hard out?
Yeah. Just like getting the fuck out of there. Ah, you dickhead. Dickhead.
Nice one.
Fucking dickhead. Oh, that was sick, then.
That was